Hello, welcome back. Today is August 23rd. Wendell's back, and we're doing business and social stories for you to enjoy with your friends.
We're going to start with the heartbreaker. Now, I suppose this is not the nail in the coffin necessarily, but I feel like
Yeah, it is.
we're done
Yeah.
with this.
LK99 is not a superconductor, and how science sleuths solved the mystery. It turns out it was the impurities, and these folks were able to grow really, really pure LK99. And so there's a part of LK99 that has some properties, and there's another part that behaves paramagnetically, but those aren't the same thing.
Rip.
It was a multi-heading article debunking it. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, it's just no.
And
Room
we'll-
temperature superconductors, no.
And we'll follow up that bad news with even worse news, which we already knew, but now we know the scope of it, and it's bad.
AMD's Inception fix, that was a security issue we reported last week, it's a silicon bug, causes up to a 54% performance drop. This is not awesome.
Yikes. Now, every program reacts differently, but let's see. Something that I need to be fast at all times. How about a database?
Yeah.
Well, that's going to be a 54%.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of people that just don't run with these patches, which is probably, I mean, it's not necessarily terrible, but yeah, this is not great. You know, first we had Intel performance that was just in the tank, and now we have AMD performance that was just in the tank. So it's not a great time to be,
Hardware enthusiast.
yeah.
Well, 50% is a bad number when you're measuring CPU performance, but it's even worse of a number if you're measuring TV viewership.
Linear TV viewing drops below 50% of U.S. television usage for the first time. Streaming hits a record high, according to Nielsen. Yet people's time is constrained. They don't have time to deal with the cable schedule nonsense. The whole reason people love the VCR, it's that all over again.
Also, at least for now, streaming has less ads, though they are working on making that a worse experience every day.
Yeah, when you're time constrained, that's the thing that exacerbates the issue.
So, I mean, at this point, it has to directly correlate to people dying, right?
Yeah.
Because most people watching TV are ancient. They're just doing it because they're used to it.
I just need some noise in the house.
Yeah. And I don't have a streaming service or Spotify to fill that void yet because I don't understand those things.
My granddaughter hasn't come to set that up for me.
And some Intel, you know, they might be celebrating. There might be cake in the conference room because of AMD's problems, but they might then throw that cake in the trash at this news.
Tower Semiconductor deal fails in setback with Intel's plan to compete with TSMC. They're going to have to pay Tower Semiconductor almost, $400 million US. And this is because China, they didn't get regulatory approval from China and elsewhere to combine forces here with Tower Semiconductor.
And we've been following the saga of the SanDisk portables. I actually was looking at one of the deal sites this week. I think they were giving these bad boys away for $40.
Yeah.
Don't fall for it.
WD faces class action lawsuit over failing SanDisk portable SSDs. Consider the Samsung T7 Shield as an alternative. Yeah, SanDisk really, wow. SanDisk used to be like the name in flash memory. Remember that? I just flushed that away.
And oh, that's wet.
Yeah, sorry.
Wendell's not feeling well.
Apple, one of their embarrassing past events, is finally, after so long, going to catch up with them a little bit.
Apple will soon send payments in $500 million Batterygate iPhone throttling lawsuit. This was, can you believe, what was it, 3 years ago? No, 2017.
Whew.
5 years ago.
Yeah, more than 3.
But the time, just there's no understanding of it anymore.
Now, we don't know how many people signed up for this. You cannot sign up for it now. You had to sign up for it in 2020, I think.
Yeah.
But if you did, you will get a small piece, probably a very small piece of that $500 million.
And Apple still made money. They still profited.
Therefore, it's still worth it to do it again.
And Apple has been criticized pretty soundly for not innovating recently, or at all, since Steve Jobs died. The watch wasn't really that great. People didn't really catch on to it. Will the VR helmet change everything? I kind of doubt it. But it's time, based on their cyclical thinking, for a new magical thing.
The morning after, Apple Watch X will herald a dramatic redesign.
Think of all the colors they'll put in it.
Yeah. Well, my mom got an Apple Watch because the doctor recommended it to monitor her stuff. And like my watch, this thing lasts a week between charges, and hers, you got to charge it every day.
How does that make it effective for monitoring?
Yeah, exactly.
What's
Especially
the point?
like an elderly person, like remembering to charge it every day.
Yeah.
Did the doctor give you any kind of like voucher or?
No.
I would think there's probably got to be some kind of kickback situation going there, right?
There is for the home. There's some certain blood pressure cuffs and home glucose monitoring and blah 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 that has Bluetooth integration, and the doctor's offices do totally get kickbacks for those.
Do they care what brand watch you get? Did they suggest Apple specifically, or was it just get a smartwatch?
It was get a smartwatch that was easy to use, and like they like seeing reports from it.
But the features that they're talking about for the X watch include all that glucose monitoring and blood pressure monitoring and stuff like that. So.
Yeah. And some of it is not actually in the watch. Some of it is just the software that slurps up all the data from other things.
Well, it's interesting, Krista, that you pointed out that there is really no punishment for them to just do it again, right? Like they got away with the battery thing. They made money. So
that was just the cost of doing business.
Why fix batteries?
iPhone 14 and 14 Pro owners complained about battery capacity that's already falling off. They've been in use for less than a year and already down to 90% of their original capacity.
Now, the new battery health app that they have will actually tell you how long you've been using it, how many charge cycles you've done, whatever. This woman figured out that after 450 cycles, she lost 10%.
Wow.
That doesn't seem like a lot, especially because I've got, like the original Nintendo DS. The lithium battery in that has got to be ancient at this point, and it's got to be way past 450 cycles, and it's still basically okay.
Well, Dell, we actually talked about this in Australia. They might have had some deceptive practices going on their website. Like, the old trick where the day before the sale, we mark all the prices up so that we can mark them back down. Well, they were doing that pretty blatantly.
Dell Australia fined by regulators over quote-unquote misleading device discount tactics. Yeah. Hey, guess what? In America, that's not a finable offense. Very sad.
Yeah.
And when it comes to AI, we're seeing everybody buying as many AI chips as they can. Those H100s are gold at this point. You must have them. But Amazon is taking the long view here. They're not looking to just buy all that they can. They want to do their own.
How Amazon is racing to catch Microsoft and Google in generative AI with custom AWS chips.
They don't have them yet, but they're working on them.
This was a fluff piece.
Yeah.
This was a press piece. Hey, we
And
talked about this earlier.
you got to, well, no, we didn't talk about this
Well,
earlier.
not this particular one, but it's
We
the
talked
same
about
thing. Yeah.
HP.
Oh, shoot.
But HP is not only they're not the only one to do it, they weren't the first.
Canon is getting away with printers that won't scan sans ink, but HP might pay. So this was settled out of court. There's an undisclosed settlement. Some person went after Canon for the same thing HP was doing. Canon apparently decided it did not look good for them, so they settled out of court. It's probably something bananas.
We don't know how much.
We got no details, but Canon did not want to go to court over this.
But if you're thinking to yourself, wow, I'm not going to buy HP, let me get a Canon instead, they do the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh.
And data centers are the new hotness. We need them. We need everything to be in the cloud. We need to track everything. Got to store it all somewhere, right? And there's a new name in the data center world.
Tesla says it will build the first of its kind brand new data center. Tesla data center.
That looks like the data center map in what was the game?
Ready or Not.
Ready or Not.
There's
Like
a-
it's really, really fancy for what it is.
There's a good reason it looks like that, because he's just buying up existing data centers. And he's buying up existing data centers in, was it San Francisco or Sacramento? And in the past, he has demeaned building data centers in Sacramento because it's not a good place to do it because of water and climate.
Huh.
But
So strange. On the one hand, it seems like it would be cool to build a data center in the desert because you could use all that solar for as much power as you could ever use.
But keeping it cool.
Especially if you owned lithium mines and did your own lithium battery manufacturing, that seems like that would be pretty smart. Just buy somewhere that's got really cheap land and is very geologically and weather stable. That seems like that would be pretty good. The lack of water is perhaps a slight issue.
Slight. Small.
It can be managed, especially when you get your electricity for free. That's a license to print money.
well, one thing that you might use those data center for is to store all of your 3D prints. And if you're thinking, why would I put that in the cloud? Why wouldn't I just have my 3D printing run locally? Well, that would be the smart thing to do.
3D printer nightmare fuel. Bambu X1C and P1P started printing while owners were asleep, even if there was already something on the print bed, maybe destroying themselves in the process. This seems like the dumbest design ever.
Why does it need to be connected to the cloud?
Yeah, it's like
That's what I don't
So that you can start your 3D prints from anywhere.
There was a Hitchhiker's Guide that had the microtransaction doors, right? What was that? That was Douglas Adams. Am I remembering that right? It was like he had to pay a nickel to open the door.
I mean, that's basically just our life now.
Yeah. It's like, oh, here's our cloud connected door.
So, but when the cloud went down, it wasn't able to report back that it finished.
Yeah.
So when the cloud came back, it was like, oh, I have a print job.
Yeah.
Let me get that started. And then it just,
They also point out that when you push a 3D printer to like print and it can't actually move those servos, they are one of the most fire prone pieces of tech that you have in your home. And were you leading into this?
Yeah.
oh,
The door that you would have to be insane. If you're buying a new home and this is on it, just walk away.
World's first smart door now available at Home Depot, but you probably can't afford it.
what an egg.
It's a $4,000 door that has built-in LED lighting. Okay, maybe that's cool. But it's also a smart display. What? And also has a built-in Ring doorbell. What?
And a lock.
And a smart lock, yeah.
I don't
Which
like
means that your door probably has a back door. Backdoor Inception.
Remember, like, some of the historical homes around here that have, like, you know, like it's a 10-foot tall, 4-foot wide door, and it's got intricate brass that somebody lovingly hand put together. And instead of having like the latch at the side, it's also got latches at the top and bottom to more securely do the door. And so it's an intricate clockwork handmade door, and it's like, oh, this is the front door to your house. This is amazing. This is like that, but somehow so much worse. Because in 100 years from now, that is
useless.
And whereas if you had the already 100-year-old lovingly handcrafted brasswork door, it's like, this is amazing and a novelty.
Even doors that aren't lovingly handcrafted but are mass produced are probably more effective at
Yeah.
keeping strangers out of your home because they're not connected to the internet.
Also, think about this. That door, what happens when the power goes out, right? Well, good news. There's a battery that lasts 24 hours. But think about this. There's a lithium battery in your door. What happens to those sometimes?
What happens if there's a power outage that lasts longer than a day?
What happens if the cops take a barricade or what do you call those things?
battering
ram to your $4,000 door and breach the lithium battery on the way in?
They don't have the bucket of sand to put out the battery.
Go get the emergency sand out of the squad car.
And we have a win for the crypto crowd. Coinbase has finally fought their way through the SEC and accomplished this.
Coinbase wins approval to offer crypto futures trading in U.S. Crypto futures trading U.S.
Sounds like a terrible idea to trade crypto
Now,
futures.
isn't this what the SEC sued them on? I didn't read the Reuters version of this article, but
No, the SEC's calling it securities,
yeah.
but this would be futures.
Okay.
And good news for the, was it 2% of you out there who are using this?
Firefox is finally outperforming Google Chrome and SunSpider. That's a benchmark. It's a web benchmark.
Good job, Firefox.
I still use it. I still believe.
Fight the Google power. I use them both.
Yeah, I have to use Chrome for like testing sometimes.
There's room for 2 browsers in everybody's life.
Keep them on their toes.
And if you are one of the people who likes to go on Xbox Live and spew profanity and racial slurs and things of that nature, you better watch out.
Xbox introduces a new strike system to curtail bad behavior. 8 strikes and you're out. But the infractions for bad behavior are fairly low.
And you might get more than 1 strike per action. So just garden variety profanity will get you 1. And I actually have a handy chart here.
Wow.
Racial slurs will get you 3. So you can really only do that 3 times and you're out.
Did you see? I can't remember if I sent this to you guys. I should include a story about it. There was a post where someone, I think it was the Bedrock edition of Minecraft, someone tried to write chest on a sign and it got like bleeped out. You couldn't write it. It's like, come on.
Context doesn't matter in Minecraft.
Wasn't that one of the OG's Simpsons jokes? It was Chesty LaRue.
There were a couple words that was censored on. I think the word take, because they were wanting to make like a give take chest, and the word take was removed as well.
What's bad about that?
I guess they think people will, like, you could put a sign on a chest like take whatever you want, but it's not your chest. I don't know. Maybe that screenshot was doctored, but a lot of people were really upset by it.
Yeah, well, Minecraft has already gotten to the point where you're not going to be able to stream it or do anything with it anyway.
Yeah.
Well, they do love to take things that are iconic and people love and mess with them a little bit, the big tech companies. And Apple has done that, and they have been bitten by the crowd.
Apple reverses course and moves iPhone end call button back to the middle in its latest beta.
That's a muscle memory that we all have developed. Why would you change it?
But also, what a crazy future we live in that this is a major story on CNBC.
Well, I mean, everything's a major story, right? They're desperate for clicks.
Ugh.
And Rockstar, their hypocrisy has known no bounds throughout their existence, and they have treated the modding community like trash, and they continue to, but they will also exploit them.
Rockstar Games acquires modding team that it previously banned. It's very disappointing behavior from Rockstar.
And yet also totally unsurprising.
Now you're probably thinking like, well, they're doing better, right? I mean, they banned them before, but they've thought about it and they've realized their mistake, and now they're going to use them correctly. And this signals a change in.
We care about your privacy.
My intro is interrupted by a pop-up. Oh my God! But that's not what they're doing.
GTA 5 AI mod taken down by Take-Two lawyers. This hostile attitude towards me and the mod is very disheartening.
So all this would do is it would give the NPCs AI-generated dialogue, so you could talk to them.
That's all it does.
They were more realistic. It didn't really change the gameplay at all. It certainly didn't make it able to run, like pirated stuff, but can't do it.
Listen, they have to shut down mods now so they can turn that into paid content later.
Listen, the customers that have paid $500 million a year in assets to Take-Two, they're responsible for creating this monster. It's the monster lives on your money as fuel. If you stop, they will stop.
Yeah, but let's face it. When GTA 6 comes out, we're going to buy it.
We're going to go back to Baldur's Gate.
It's so nice not being aggressively like sold stuff all the time. Like, get this skin, get this, quick, buy a battle pass. It's like, just leave me alone. I just want to play your game in peace.
It's so deeply frustrating to see Take-Two act this way. Incredibly frustrating.
Well, it's probably also pretty frustrating to be an Amazon reseller at this point. But you're saying, well, hey, things are changing, right? Because everybody's going after the antitrust. They're going to bust Amazon down if they don't stop this nonsense. So they're going to be on their best behavior, right? Surely, right?
Amazon now punishes merchants who ship their own products. As the company reportedly waits for a lawsuit amid antitrust violations, Amazon is hitting sellers who ship their own packages with a 2% of fee per product. Well, that tells you exactly what they think of Lena Khan. It's like, okay, they're not very
We're not
effective.
concerned about this.
Yeah, so.
I have some clients who are probably not going to be happy about this change.
That's on top of a 99 cent per product fee for the merchant fee and a 8 to 15% fee for the referral fee that you will pay every time you sell something on Amazon. Bezos has got to get his taste. And he's hungry. Nintendo, this is a little bit older story, but we missed it last week. They are notorious also for going after the community that enjoys their products and also trying to limit anybody from doing anything remotely close to their products.
Nintendo is trying to patent some really broad tiers of the kingdom mechanics. We mentioned this a little bit when I was talking about the whole, copyright versus patents, but yeah.
So how did the physics work of a character moving on a moving object?
That seems like the laws of physics, and that seems like that's also been implemented in video games for quite some time now.
Many, many games, in fact.
Yeah, no, and Nintendo will just use this as sociopathically as they possibly can, as they have demonstrated in the past.
That wasn't even the most insane one. There was some stuff about loading screens. One where apparently when you fire an arrow, when it lands, lightning strikes from the sky. That's for sure in Dota, right?
Yeah.
I've seen that in games before. Absolutely.
Remember in PUBG when you would drive and sometimes if you jumped on top of the car, it didn't know where to put you, so you just rubber band all over the place.
Right, yeah.
That was fun.
Games have always struggled with that. When two physics objects contact one another, that's really difficult in games. So they did something impressive, but it doesn't mean they own it.
Yeah, other games have figured that out. Even PUBG eventually got that right.
It's not like Nintendo published their source code to do that either. It's like, this is the exact method. It's like, well, I can do it with a slightly different, more improved method.
We own that.
Yeah, Nintendo will just...
Yeah, fight our lawyers.
Yeah.
Spend the next decade fighting our lawyers, and we'll see if you have a physics object or not. We think you won't. Well, if you manage servers, this is something that you need to pay attention to because Microsoft has given you a wonderful little surprise of extra security.
Windows feature that resets the system clocks based on random data is wreaking havoc. So this was somebody that ran a cell tower or cell phone system, and somehow the date on the computer got reset to a few weeks in the future. And so the system thought numbers that were scheduled to be ported had already been ported, and it did not route the calls correctly.
Why did it get it wrong? Well, there is a clock setting system based on TLS handshakes because it doesn't want to trust anything locally, but those can be wrong. And when they're wrong, your clock can change up to 36 hours just randomly in the future. If you have something that's really time sensitive,
I'm living in the future.
You can turn that off in the registry, and they give you the steps to do that in an article, and they recommend that you do if you have anything that's critical. And the font wars over time have given us some proprietary things that really kept lurking around, but finally we can put them to rest.
Adobe and Microsoft break some old files by removing PostScript font support. PostScript Type 1 fonts are decades old, but apps supported them until recently. Probably security related.
Well, we got the True Type now. These were proprietary Adobe. Everybody stopped using them, but they might still be out there. And if they are, you're in trouble. And the Amazon pharmacy is getting a big shot in the arm. And I think I didn't add the story, but one of the big medical providers has abandoned CVS or Walgreens, and they're exclusively going with Amazon pharmacy and the billionaires thing. What was that called?
Oh, Mark Cuban's thing. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, but they are doing this, which seems like a good thing.
Amazon Pharmacy automates discounts to help insulin patients get pledged prices. This is the most American and also darkest timeline thing ever. Because you have companies like Eli Lilly, they're like, you can get discounted insulin, but then they make it really hard for you to get discounted insulin. And so now we've got computer programs that, automate the hoops you have to jump through to get the discounts that Eli Lilly. And it's like, why do we have to?
Why is there an orphan crushing machine?
Yeah.
Can we just not crush the orphans?
But it's valuable.
Well, the orphans can opt out of the orphan crushing machine. It's like, what do you mean they can?
Shouldn't we just automatically opt the orphans out?
All they have to do is this very specific interpretive dance as they approach the machine. It's so easy.
It appeases the machine.
And you're going to have to appease your car pretty soon with monthly fees because everything's going to be a subscription. And who's better at building this dystopia than Apple?
Ford taps Apple exec to build high-margin digital services. I read this article, but all I could imagine was the episode of Star Trek where the Pac-Lads kidnapped Geordi LaForge, and they were like, "You need to make our starship go. How do you make our starship go?"
I'm imagining a scenario where it's like, do you want heat in your car for your newborn?
Yeah.
Pay $5.
Oh, well, you want to drop the temperature or you want to raise the temperature more than 20 degrees? You're going to have to upgrade. That's a tier 2 option. You need the cold weather package.
We're laughing about it. Level 1 prediction. In 5 years, we're going to be doing a story about that.
And they'll sell it as like, well, our Arizona customers don't want the extra cost.
Why should they have to pay? And then, people eat it up.
Netflix is another company that aims to give you more, although most people maybe just don't care about it.
Netflix starts testing game streaming on select devices, smart TVs, and desktop browsers.
But not here in the good old US of A. Only very specific people in Canada and the UK will get this super feature. Imagine how popular you can be as an account share if you're one of these accounts.
Oh. Still haven't been kicked off.
Riding dirty. Streaming dirty.
Ah.
Oh, that could be the title for the episode.
We'll forget that by the time it comes, but
And not good news, but I guess maybe not as bad as it could be news on the old Internet Archive saga. It continues.
Publishers of the Internet Archive agree to streamline digital book lending case. They've agreed to table their disagreement until the heart of the matter is settled, and if the Internet Archive wins, then it'll be good for the Internet Archive. But if the Internet Archive loses, they agree that they're not going to challenge other aspects of the lawsuit.
And they will pay.
And they'll pay
arrears. So they'll pay all those copyright claims.
So the Internet Archive must think they have a very strong case.
I mean, technically they probably do, but I don't like their chances in any of our court systems.
Yeah, see also the VCR. See also Arrow. I cannot believe it is not a function in law that Arrow would have been shut down. I'm renting a 1-inch cube of airspace in New York, and I want to pull radio signals out of that 1-inch cube of airspace in New York. That's legal, and they shut down Arrow.
I just want to say that the whole thing you just said almost sounds like wizard speak. just out of context.
Yeah.
I'm renting space in the wizard's tower with some air.
That's where all the good weave is. I don't understand.
I made the sacrifices. Well, state after state has decided to ban. I put 2 words together.
You did there, yeah.
But I'm not allowed. To
Yeah,
say that
yeah,
word.
yeah.
They banned a website, a particular website, one of the more popular websites in the world, and that website is getting tired of it, and they have so many court battles.
That particular website is suing Texas over its age verification law. Texas Health and Human Services warning on all of their sites.
Is that kind of sad to imagine, like, that they're noticing a huge drop in their traffic, that it's underage people, or?
Well, I don't think just underage. I mean, most
I guess a lot of
people
people are getting kicked out, but
I think that's more of, it's kind of like the next to the cashier at the supermarket. It's like one of those items. It's an impulse item.
Yeah.
And if you have to jump through extra hoops, all you got to do is turn around and get a different impulse item. There's so many.
You really just have to watch, what we did in the 60s and 70s. It's like, listen, I'm only curious about communism. I don't really subscribe to all of their stuff. It's like, oh, that doesn't matter.
I only need to read about communism for the next 10 to 15 minutes. Then I will lose all interest. And you know what else has lost all interest?
ugh.
Who could have predicted this?
Buyers of Bored Ape NFTs sue after digital apes turn out to be a bad investment.
Huh. Who could have thought of that?
I'm going to have to say that you get what you get, crypto bros.
Isn't that the whole thing with investing? Like, it's an investment. You're not guaranteed a return necessarily.
Past performance does not indicate future performance. It's right there written on all the stuff that you agreed to. Snapchat has a new AI, and apparently people are actually talking to it. Which is interesting.
My neighbor's granddaughter apparently talks to it all the time. She's like 13, 14.
Well, she might have been freaked out by this one.
Snapchat's My AI goes rogue and posts stories, but Snap confirms it was just a glitch.
This was trending for a while. I did see the original. It was just a video, and it was like just rainbow nothingness.
They said it was just a thing that they fixed. Don't worry about it. Keep talking to your AI.
No thanks.
It's like when they come for you, you can hide on this Raspberry Pi. You know.
I'll keep a version of you.
Yeah.
My love. And it's more and more bad news for Threads. It seems that it was all hype, and the hype is running out.
Threads app usage plummets despite initial promises of refuge from Twitter. This is again, no, it sounds like a duplicate from last week or the week before. It's like, no, Threads app usage is still declining precipitously. It's like, oh, it leveled off. No, in fact, it did not.
I did laugh at this article because they were like certain brands, and they listed a bunch where they were like they're not posting anymore, and I'm like, well, is that a negative? That makes me want to go to it more.
And maybe it's because this man is not paying enough attention to his business because he's busy cage fighting.
Mark Zuckerberg signs now
This is a
point
weird
to
headline.
MMA match with UFC fighter. So Mark Zuckerberg can't get a fight with Elon Musk. Well, what about a UFC fighter? Would people watch that? Would that please the crowds?
Are you not entertained?
He started talking to Dana White about the Elon Musk fight, and I guarantee you Dana White is blowing his phone up every minute of every day. It's like, Mark, we got to get you in the cage. Come on, Mark. Please.
When I read this story, I read Dana White as Vanna White, and I was like, what does she have to do with it?
They get her in there too. So he's doing stuff in his backyard. He's hiring these actual fighters to help him train, and they're probably going to put him in there with like a kind of a newbie.
This photo, he looks like he's looking for validation from the other fighter, and the guy's like, don't touch me. That's the body language in that photo.
I'm sure that's the mentality, right? It's
Yeah.
like, let's take this rich guy's money.
But we don't have to be friends.
He's a little weird. He might not fit in most of the gyms. And we've seen this so many times, state after state. Now we have New York City.
New York City bans TikTok on city-owned devices. No, this is not a repeat from 2022.
It's surprising to me that more places, like more government agencies, don't have rules about that already. But just any app, I would think that's like social, unless you're a social media manager. I don't know why you would need it on a government device.
I mean, there are some that do.
You checking your phone is the only intro we need for this story.
TikTok brain, it may be coming for your kid's attention
For
span.
your Wendell's attention span.
In my case, it's not my attention span so much as just having to see what mom wants.
Oh.
Your mom is TikTok.
Yeah.
So they did some studies and they figured out, obviously, that this algorithm that was made to be addictive is addictive. Seems to be.
Surprise.
So they're saying that kind of what the EU people are saying is like, hey, it's messing up our kids. We got to do something about it. But they go more into the science here. They did this study. And yeah, it seems like kids, they get a little weird when they're constantly getting that dopamine hit.
I think that's true of all of us. The internet's making us all a little weirder, but not always in a positive way.
And it seems that culturally, we're all starting to realize this.
Close to half of American adults favor TikTok ban, according to this poll.
Although, if it's half, that could also be purely political.
Yeah. I feel like you could, hit TikTok down and it would just lead to the rise of some other app. Are we resurrecting Vine yet?
You're going to have to learn to control your children and yourselves. I mean, like replace TikTok with fried foods. Yeah, we got problems. Discipline yourself.
In my case, my mom's got a doctor's appointment in 30 minutes and she's already freaking out.
She goes to the doctor a lot.
Yeah.
Well, X, which will always be Twitter to me, has gotten caught. Apparently they have undone this now, but what a petty move.
It is.
Elon Musk's X is throttling traffic to websites he dislikes. So that they found that when you include a link in your tweet to certain websites, it'll just pause for 5 seconds.
Not yeah, and it's like that's not a trivial amount of time for like just clicking on something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now you can go.
But it also points out the whole TikTok brain thing, because it's enough to make some people just be like, I'm done with this.
Something's wrong with the website.
5 seconds,
Yeah.
I'm out. So it was the t.co link shortening domain, which they also own. And they did some measurements. Now, the Washington Post, who was reporting on this, apparently was not affected. But they did find that was Reuters and
Yeah, Reuters of all ones too. Like that's
Facebook.
fairly neutral.
And we know why he hates Facebook.
Yeah.
New York Times, they've been very critical of him. And some other ones, 5-second penalty.
So I heard it was resolved, but then I was seeing some comments on that article that said that no, there's still a few that are being affected, but I'm sure that'll be a developing story.
Didn't they open source the Twitter code base? That must be new.
Yeah, well, it's not Twitter.
It's their link
the
share
link
that they
Oh.
own. Yeah.
I guess that wouldn't have been in the source dump then.
Yeah, it's separate.
I demand all freedom. I want to see all of it.
And finally, we may get some indicator of why all of these things control our lives so much.
Social media's addictive loop compels users to share mindlessly. Yeah. Part of the reason why we split this program into 3 chunks.
So what this points out is initially your likes and comments that you get will reward you. But once you post a bunch every day, you get immune to that. It's like opioids. And you're just posting to get well. You're not even getting high anymore. It's just compulsion. And you don't even care what the response is. So they say that this points to why disinformation is so popular. Because you're not thinking about what you're posting. You're just reflexively posting because that's what you do. You're a poster. It's madness.
That's strange to me.
Much like opioids, I'm glad that I can still have this. I can still enjoy it.
Yeah, I post very rarely, and
Yeah.
it's usually like, oh, like that's nice, and then I don't post again for like a couple months.
Whereas some people,
You don't post a ton on your Twitter. You browse it a lot, but you
you
don't
feel
post
like
that much.
you feel like you get the endorphin still, or is the magic gone? Just dead inside.
Yeah.
The tick is
Just trying to make it from one day to the
the
next.
tick is
Yeah.
consuming all of your likes and comments.
Except for Baldur's Gate, you
It's
can
a-
still feel it.
It's a good. I am having a lot of fun with Baldur's
That's a good
Gate.
game. I was afraid it was going to be like Divinity, which I didn't care for. And there are teleporting enemies in Baldur's Gate, but it was not nearly as frustrating to fight.
Yeah.
You're gonna get some spicy comments putting down Divinity.
I know a lot of people really like it. I didn't care for it.
I need to go revisit it because they might have just changed the balance or made it a little different.
Maybe I feel like it was really easy to wander into battles that were hard.
Well, that's true of Baldur's Gate as well.
Yeah.
I mean, your experience, you're getting the benefit of the fact that both of us have
Have already
played
played
all
it.
of
Or,
before, so we know
have,
what to
have you
avoid.
guys both beat the game?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm still in Act 1.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm trying to get every piece of the experience is so hard to come by.
Yeah. Like,
No.
I gotta absorb it all.
No random encounters. I'm just trying to find things to kill.
Yeah. It is a lot of fun though. And it's so well thought out. A lot of the time when you do wander into something that's, kicking your butt, there's either a clever solution that you'll see eventually, or you just shouldn't do that right now.
Also, I think that's true of the combat. Like you can use the environment or
Yeah.
certain combinations of things, and we're just not thinking of that.
Yeah. I think also in Divinity, they didn't make it as obvious how you can de-escalate and flee, whereas there are a lot of characters that'll give your party the ability to flee combat pretty easily.
Well, with that, we're going to de-escalate and flee until Friday.